The front door opened, and my whole body locked. I knew that sound too well. The slow scrape, the heavy step, the silence that came before his voice. Even now, years later, I can still feel it. Growing up, I learned to read the house. Not the people, the house. I learned what the air felt like when danger entered. I learned what the floorboards said. I learned what the walls held inside them. Our house was small. 2 bedrooms, a narrow sitting room, a kitchen that always smelled like oil and heat. Nothing about it looked frightening, but fear does not need a large room. It only needs a place to stay, and in our house fear stayed. My father was not a monster to everyone. That was the hard part. Outside, people respected him. He was serious, disciplined, quiet, the kind of man neighbors called strong. At church, he shook hands firmly. He carried his Bible under one arm. He nodded during sermons like every word belonged to him. People admired that. I used to wonder if they were seeing a different man, or if I was. At home, his moods ruled everything. A dropped spoon could become an insult. A late greeting could become defiance. A question could become disrespect. So I stopped asking questions. My mother moved carefully around him. My younger sister learned to stay close to me, and I became the child who listened for footsteps. I was always listening. The evenings were the worst, especially when the gate opened after dark. I would pause whatever I was doing, hold my breath, wait for the first sound from him. If he cleared his throat a certain way, I knew. If he placed his keys down too hard, I knew. If he said nothing at all, I knew even more. I became good at disappearing. I would go to my room early, keep my books open, keep my voice low, keep my eyes down. I tried to become invisible. It never fully worked. Sometimes he shouted. Sometimes he struck the table. Sometimes he struck harder than that. And the strange thing about fear is this. After a while, it becomes normal. You stop calling it pain. You call it life. I still believed in God then. But quietly, carefully. Faith felt safer when whispered. My mother prayed out loud sometimes. Mostly in the kitchen. Mostly when she thought we could not hear. I heard everything. She would say, "Lord, touch this home." Or, "Father, let peace enter here." Or, on the harder nights, "Please, do not let tonight be bad." Those prayers stayed with me. I never prayed like she did. I did not have her courage. I only had small prayers. Lord, let him sleep early. Lord, let him not call my name. Lord, let my sister stop shaking. Lord, please. That was how I spoke to God. In pieces. Then one afternoon, something small happened. Small, but it stayed in my mind. I came home from school earlier than usual. My mother had gone to the market. My sister was still with a neighbor. So the house was quiet. Too quiet. I was about to enter my room when I heard a sound from my parents' bedroom. A low sound, like someone talking. I froze. My father was at work. I knew he was. No one else should have been inside. The voice came again. Soft. Unclear. I stepped closer to the half-open door. My heart was hammering so hard, I could hear it in my ears. Then I realized where the sound was coming from. A radio. An old battery radio sat on the bedside stool. I had not noticed it before. It was on low volume. A preacher was speaking. His voice was calm. Not loud. Not dramatic. He said, "Some homes look whole from the outside." Then he paused. Then he said, "But heaven has heard the crying inside those walls." I stopped breathing. I cannot explain why that sentence shook me. Maybe because it felt too exact. Maybe because it felt like someone had entered our house without opening the door. I stood there until the message ended. Then the signal turned rough. The sound broke into static. And when I picked up the radio, the back panel opened. There were no batteries inside. I stared at it. I even shook it. Nothing. No batteries. No power source. Nothing. The radio should not have been on. I told myself I was tired, or confused, or imagining part of it. But that night, I could not stop thinking about it. I did not tell my mother. I did not tell my sister. And I definitely did not tell my father. Some things are easier to carry alone. A few days passed. Then something stranger happened. It was a Thursday night. Rain was falling hard on the roof. The kind that makes people speak louder indoors. My father came home irritated. You could feel it before he sat down. He complained about the food, complained about the heat, complained about the noise from the rain. Then he called my sister. She did not answer fast enough. He called again, sharper this time. I saw her face, that look she always got, like her soul was trying to leave before her body did. I stood up before thinking. I said, "I will do it." He turned toward me slowly. The room changed. My mother looked at me once. Just once. A warning. A plea. But it was too late. My father stood, walked toward me, stopped so close I could smell rain on his shirt. He said, "Are you talking back to me?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to become the wall behind me. But fear had already trapped my voice. Then suddenly the power went out. The whole house dropped into darkness. My sister screamed softly. My mother said my name, and my father cursed under his breath. It should have ended there. Just a blackout. Just bad timing. But in the darkness, another voice spoke. Not loud. Not from outside. Not from any room I could place. It simply said, "Enough." One word. Enough. Everyone heard it. I know they did. Because the silence after it was alive. My father stepped back. I heard it. A real step. Quick. Uncertain. My mother whispered, "Jesus." No one moved. The rain kept beating the roof. Water ran through the gutter outside. And inside that darkness, every hair on my body stood up. Then the lights came back. My father looked different. Not weak. Not soft. But shaken. He looked around the room as if someone had been standing beside him. Someone the rest of us could not see. Without another word, he turned and went into his room. He shut the door. And he stayed there. That had never happened before. Not once. My mother lit a candle anyway. Even though the lights were back. Her hands were trembling. My sister came and held me. I could feel her heart racing through her thin shirt. No one spoke about the voice. Not that night. But I knew what I heard. And deep down, I think they knew too. After that, things changed. Not all at once. But enough to unsettle me. My father became quieter. Not peaceful. Just quieter. He still frowned. Still kept to himself. Still carried that same hard presence. But something in him looked interrupted. Once, I caught him staring at the wall for a long time. Another day, I saw him sit outside alone after midnight. No radio. No book. Just sitting there. Then I began waking around 3 a.m. Not every night, but often. I would open my eyes suddenly. No dream. No noise. Just that strange feeling that I was supposed to wake up. The first time, I heard my father talking in the next room. His voice was low. Broken. I thought he was on the phone. But then I heard what he was saying. "Leave me alone." A pause. Then, I said, "I am tired." My throat went dry. I sat up in bed. Listened harder. Then came another pause. Longer this time. And then I heard him crying. I had never heard my father cry. Not once. Not in sickness. Not at funerals. Not ever. It was not loud crying. It was the kind a man makes when he is trying not to be heard. That sound frightened me more than his anger ever had. Because I did not understand it. The next morning he acted normal. Or tried to. But his eyes were red. And he avoided looking at any of us. 3 nights later, it happened again. This time I left my room. The hallway was dark. Only moonlight touched the floor. His bedroom door was open a little. I could hear him breathing heavily. Then I heard words I never expected. "God, if you are really there, make it stop." I stopped walking. My father was praying. Not proudly. Not in church language. Not like a man trying to impress heaven. He sounded desperate. Broken people pray differently. I stood in that hallway and felt something crack inside me. All my life, I had seen him as the storm. I never once imagined he might be drowning too. I went back to my room, closed the door, knelt beside my bed, and for the first time in years, I prayed honestly. Not for escape, not for silence, not even for protection. I said, "Lord, I do not understand this man." I could barely get the words out. Then I said, "But if you can reach him, please do it. Please, before he destroys all of us, and before whatever is destroying him finishes the job." I cried harder than I meant to. All the fear, all the years, all the swallowed pain. It came out at once. I do not know how long I stayed there. Minutes, maybe longer. But sometime before dawn, I fell asleep on the floor. The miracle came the next evening. And it did not come the way I expected. There was a knock at our gate. 3 slow knocks. My father was home. So was my mother. I went to open it. An older man stood there. Thin, neatly dressed. Rain dust on his shoes. I had never seen him before. He asked for my father by name. Something about him felt calm. Too calm for our house. I called my father. He came to the door. Took one look at the man. And went pale. Not surprised. Pale. The older man said, "Can I speak with you?" My father did not answer immediately. Then he stepped outside and closed the gate behind him. They spoke for nearly 20 minutes. No shouting. No drama. Just quiet talking. From the window, I watched my father's shoulders. At first they were stiff. Then they dropped. Then slowly he covered his face with both hands. When he came back inside, he looked like someone who had walked through fire. My mother asked who the man was. My father sat down before answering. Then he said something that made the room go still. He was the pastor from my village. I buried him 15 years ago. I stared at him. My mother stared too. My father kept speaking. He said when he was a boy, that pastor used to pray for him, used to warn him, used to tell him anger was hunting his bloodline. My father laughed at him back then. Years later, when the pastor died, my father felt nothing. At least, that was what he said. But the man at the gate, the man who had just spoken to him, was that same pastor. Same face. Same voice. Same scar near the left eye. And do you know what shook my father most? Not that he saw him. What shook him was the message. He said the man looked at him and said, "The thing that entered your father is asking to stay in you. But tonight, you must decide who this house belongs to." Then the man gave him a verse. One my father repeated with trembling lips. "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Joshua 24 verse 15. After saying that, the man turned toward the road. My father followed, but when he reached the gate, the road was empty. No footsteps, no car, no one walking away, just evening wind and dust. That night, my father called us together. I thought he would change his mind. I thought pride would return and crush the moment. But it did not. He stood in the middle of the sitting room, hands shaking, eyes wet. Then he said the words I had needed all my life. "I have hurt this family." No excuse. No blame. No anger. Just truth. My sister began to cry first. Then my mother. Then strangely so did I. He knelt down. My father, the man I had only known standing above us, kneeling. He asked God to forgive him. He asked my mother to forgive him. He asked us, his children, to forgive him. And then he told us the twist I never saw coming. His father had been worse. Much worse. The rage. The cruelty. The terror in the house. He had grown inside it, just like I had. But instead of running from it, he had become it. He said he always hated his father. Yet every year, he sounded more like him. Moved more like him. Burned more like him. He thought strength meant control. He thought fear meant respect. He thought silence in a family meant peace. He was wrong. That was the night everything changed. Not instantly. Not perfectly. Not like in movies. Healing rarely arrives that clean. There were hard weeks after that. Awkward apologies. Quiet dinners. Long talks that should have happened years earlier. My father began praying with us. At first, his voice shook. Then it steadied. He started going to church differently. Not as a man performing holiness, but as a man clinging to mercy. Sometimes I still watched him carefully. Trauma does not disappear because one miracle happens. But over time, the house changed. The air changed. You could hear laughter where fear used to sit. You could hear worship without tension hiding beneath it. You could sleep without listening for footsteps. And the strangest part, the thing I thought I wanted most was safety. But what God gave us was deeper. He gave us deliverance. Not just from a violent moment, from a pattern, from a chain, from a darkness that had traveled through generations looking for another home. It almost found one. But God said, "Enough." Sometimes I think about that word in the darkness. How firm it sounded. How final. One word. And hell lost ground in our house. I do not tell this story because everything became easy. It did not. I tell it because some prayers sound small on earth, but loud in heaven. A mother's whisper in the kitchen. A frightened child under a blanket. A broken man at 3 a.m. asking God if He is real. He hears all of it. So if you are living in a house filled with fear, do not believe the lie that God has forgotten the address. He knows the room. He knows the tears. He knows the silence between one painful night and the next. And He still steps in, sometimes with a whisper, sometimes with a stranger, sometimes with one word that changes everything. Enough. If this story reminded you that God still enters broken homes, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to this channel, because some miracles are still waiting to be told.